Question: do you support family detention centers? Answer: we will review family detention centers for their utility upon entering office. Next question: do you support the Detainee Basic Medical Care Act, the bill that will require the Department of Homeland Security to develop procedures to ensure adequate medical care for all detainees held by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement? Answer: the bill is currently pending before Congress. I have staff reviewing it and following hearings on the subject, but I strongly support ensuring that detainees held by ICE are safe. Next question: do you support the United American Families Act, the bill that would amend the Immigration and Nationality Act to allow permanent partners of U.S. citizens and lawful permanent residents, including same-sex partners, to obtain permanent residence? Answer: yes. Question: do you support the community service requirements of previous DREAM Act legislation that would grant provisional, conditional legal residence to immigrants graduates who perform 910 hours of voluntary community service? Answer: yes. Question: would you support an immediate moratorium on community and worksite raids by ICE? I support a review of enforcement practices for their effectiveness and strongly support comprehensive immigration reform. Immigration raids are not a solution to our broken immigration system. Workplace enforcement of our laws is, however, important. Employers should not get away with willfully hiring people unauthorized to work here. But spending money on these raids to catch a couple of thousand people is not a long-term strategy for dealing with the millions of people who are here. At a minimum, when these raids are executed, we have to make sure that social service agencies are notified that the kids who are in school or at home, while their parents are in a detention, are not left without adult supervision. Question: do you approve of ICE's use of excessive force to conduct immigration raids as seen recently in Pottsville, Iowa? Answer: excessive use of force is never acceptable. That specific case is currently under review. Next question: do you support the Families First Immigration Enforcement Act, the bill that would provide for safe and humane policies and procedures pertaining to the arrest, detention, and processing of aliens in immigration enforcement operations? Answer: I will consider the proposal as part of comprehensive immigration reform. Question: would you support the incorporation of requirements that would tie both future economic aid and trade agreements to substantive benchmarks in sender nations that would alleviate some of the economic and humanitarian conditions that foster continued migration? Answer: I will pursue a trade and foreign aid policy that will promote development and democracy abroad. I believe we need to do more to promote economic development in Mexico and other sender nations to decrease the pressure to immigrate without authorization to the United States in search of work. That means increasing U.S. assistance to these countries, but it also means making it easier and cheaper for private capital, particularly family remittances, to flow into Mexico, for example. Next question: would you renegotiate the NAFTA last phase that just went into effect that lifts restrictions on more U.S. agricultural products, particularly poultry imported into Mexico? Answer: I have committed to reviewing NAFTA and improving on the text in the agreement in cooperation with Mexico and Canada. Next question: do you support canceling or renegotiating NAFTA? Answer: I will work with the leaders of Canada and Mexico to fix NAFTA so that it works for American workers. NAFTA and its potentials were oversold to the American people. It has not created the job and wealth that were promised. I believe that we can and must make trade work for American workers by opening up foreign markets to U.S. goods and maintaining strong labor and environmental standards. As president, I will work to amend NAFTA so that it lives up to those important principles. Next question: do you support the Farm Bill, more specifically, the agricultural subsidies it contains? Answer: I supported the Farm Bill, but also supported measures to reform subsidies so that they help family farmers, not big, vertically integrated corporate agri-businesses. Next question, do you support Plan Colombia, the plan that was meant to combat the principal threat to the nation's political and economic elite, the revolutionary armed forces of Colombia, known as FARC, even though after close examination of Plan Colombia, it has been revealed that the plan states that public companies and banks are to be privatized, leading to massive layoffs and further increasing unemployment at a time when cutbacks in government spending has removed any vestiges of providing a social safety net for those affected. Answer: I support Plan Colombia. However, it is important to take a hard look at whether our assistance to Colombia reflects the right mix of combating drug trafficking and supporting legitimate agricultural efforts. The bottom line is that the drug trade has a devastating impact on the United States and Colombia, and we must continue to do more to reduce the drug trade. Next question, do you support Plan Mexico, which has been considered to be a duplicate of Plan Colombia, which has entrenched violence and corruption in Colombia while failing to reduce drug flow? Do you support canceling or renegotiating Plan Mexico? Answer: the U.S. has a significant stake in Mexico, succeeding in defeating and dismantling its destabilized drug gangs. U.S. assistance, properly targeted, could play an important role in such a process. We need to carefully examine the administration's recent request for Plan Mexico, particularly given the secrecy that has surrounded the formulation of the proposed package. Question: what would you do to address the racist and nativist rhetoric that is becoming mainstreamed and that is tied to a rising crime wave fueled by the same sentiment? Answer: I have spoken out against hateful rhetoric and will continue to do so. I'll keep fighting and work for a civil debate about immigration where we begin to recognize ourselves in one another. Question: what are you going to do to take a more global approach to the issue of migration? Answer: I will engage multilateral institutions and promote economic development in migrant-sending nations. Question: what would you do to provide opportunities in the countries that migrants are fleeing from? Answer: we need a combination of trade, aid, and cultural exchange efforts to provide opportunities in those countries. Question: how do you address the overwhelming amount of money the U.S. federal government spends on defense and military expenditures at home and abroad? And would you see to it that less money is spent on militarization and more money is spent on social programs? Answer: federal spending for our national defense is important to protect our homeland and national security interests. I understand we are facing a different set of national security challenges in our post-September 11th world, and that our defense budget should reflect the reality. But I also believe that the goal should be to spend responsibly, and unrestrained defense spending could lead to high deficits and undermine our efforts to invest in pressing national domestic problems such as healthcare and education. And cutting domestic spending directly affects programs that benefit Latinos. We need to maintain a sensible budget that allows sufficient funds for both national defense spending and domestic priorities like education, Head Start, and food stamps. These are mutually obtainable objectives. This was not a question that American Immigration Lawyers Association asked, but we also wanted to tell you what Barack Obama's position is on driver's licenses for illegal immigrants. He supports providing them by having the states figure out a way to doing so without risking security. He believes immigrants come here to work, and that regardless of their status, if they are going to drive, they should do it in a safe and insured way. He emphasizes that driving, as is housing for illegals, are not the issues that the government should be concentrating on, but that the comprehensive immigration reform is. This is what he thinks the country should focus on. This is the Obama-Biden approach. This is what they've campaigned for. And we hope that in their first year they are able to accomplish some, if not all, of these goals that they have set out for you, the immigrants who are out there without status, and for the future of this country and its immigrant population. I am Michael Feldenkrais, your immigration attorney, providing you Immigration News.